I'm a member, because of my incarnation, of a number of systems, of which one is a political system. And in order to honor my incarnation, it means that I'm a citizen. And I have to, whatever that means, I have to be part of it. It's a process that I have to be part of. And that if I push it away, it's got me. Or if I become obsessed with it, it's got me. What I have to do is find a way to fulfill it, play my part, to be all the different roles I have in the world, to just fulfill them, not to be lost in them or to reject them, but just to do what I have to do in each one. And in my understanding of the political system, and as a non-compassionate one, or a relatively uncompassionate one, I feel, a part of me feels incredible pain, just as you do. I mean, I work in Guatemala, so I do understand how culpable our government is for the suffering that's going on to these beautiful Mayan people. When I look at the politicians involved, I can empathize with how they got into that predicament. I see the forces acting upon them inside themselves and in the social structures they're working in. And I realize that I'm part of the web of it all. For example, I know that it's my choosing to drive my car someplace that is feeding something in the system that is leading to our Middle East policy, that is leading to, there's a way in which I'm a conspirator in the whole game. And so what I feel is that I often externalize the blame. I often say, if he were good, things would be wonderful, without realizing that I'm part of the web. I feel that in the issue, like in Aikido, that when you have somebody that you feel is doing the wrong thing, or a negative force or a dark force, and you want to act against it, there has to be a way to act appreciating their energy in a way so that the result of the interaction is, as Gandhi said, I want the British to leave India, but I want them to leave as friends. It's that one. That if I see Casper and all the people that represents as them to be pushed against with all of my being, what I do is give them power. And there is another way in which they are that part of us that represents that part of the system. In other words, I'm talking about planes again, where I see we're us here, but we're also them there. And I will say, no, you can't do this, or this is wrong, or I'll vote against you, or I'm going to put out an ad saying that you are irresponsible and you shouldn't be reelected, or whatever. At the same moment, the question is where my heart is in relation to that. And whether I externalize and project outward, or whether I just say this is part of the web of the human condition, of which I'm part and they're part. And in my dance, I have this moral code and this set of awarenesses that leads me to say, because I'm representing the woman in Guatemala that the government is screwing, I have the responsibility to say this. But how I say it is the next question, not that I say it. And who I see I'm saying it to is as important. And the interesting thing is whether you can be a really good adversary in a way that draws you closer together, or does adversarial things have to take you apart? Am I dealing with that question at all? Yeah.
I feel that you and I, as people who are working on our consciousness, are sensing in the society an interesting moment. And the interesting moment is that we taste the possibility of change. And the question is, where does the change occur? Does it occur in laws? Is the change that's required a change in us, or just in the social systems in which we work? If the change is in us, and that's part of it, and I think most of you see that intimate relationship. I mean, I go to many peace rallies, and everybody at the peace rally is so pissed off all the time. You think, isn't that interesting? That if we're having peace rallies and everybody's angry at a peace rally, what the hell chance is there of peace? I mean, a peaceful person helps create a peaceful universe. Aha. Perspective. Is there a way you can protest from a place of peacefulness? Is there a way that the very act of saying no to somebody can bring you closer together instead of being divisive? Interesting question, isn't it? Don't you notice when you say no to somebody, you tend to close your heart? Wouldn't it be an interesting exercise to figure out how to keep your heart open when you say no? How to love the person and abhor the act. And say no to the act and saying yes to the person. And doing it at the same moment, even in the quality of the way you say the no. And these are the exercises of life for a spiritual person. Because if your job is to keep your heart open, and yet you have to act in a way to oppose evil, how do you oppose evil without getting caught in righteousness and good, which polarizes the world? If you and I are to play a part, we can play traditional parts of protest, of letter writing, of joining local government, local school committees, doing what we have to participate, to being part of a participatory democracy. Being watchdog, whistleblower, people that demand accountability of our government officials. And I think everybody should think about how they're playing on the national arena. I don't think you can cop out saying, well, I've got my family to attend to. I think you've got all the stuff. This government has powerful lobbies putting force on it to do one thing or another. The lobby of consciousness of which we are a part, which doesn't demand membership or newsletters or dues. It's just a membership. It's a part of a thing, of a lobby of consciousness, of saying there can be a compassionate government, there can be a just government. And I represent something that reminds us constantly of that and that's my part. And I remind my congressman, I remind my president, because they all need reminding constantly, because they need a support system. If they only are talked to by people who have special interests, then our voice just gets lost in the shuffle because we're lousy lobbyists. But if you and I are going to be able to speak to the issues of the world and do it in a way that doesn't create more suffering, we ourselves have got to be able to deal with fear without being reactive. We've got to be able to deal with the suffering without averting our eyes.